She was on her way home from school that day, with just a few steps left to reach her house, when she encountered a real-life monster. Whenever I'm preparing material for each video, I always wonder what might still surprise me and just how far the degree of cruelty can go. This one shocked me. Lola Davie was born in 2010 in France. She lived with her mother, Delphine, her father, Han, and her brother in the 19th arrondissement of Paris. The family's home was located near the Seine, not far from Parc de la Villette. The 19th arrondissement is considered one of the safest areas in the city, largely because it is heavily patrolled by the police due to the many tourist sites in the vicinity. Lola was a student and practiced gymnastics. She led an active life. According to one source, her parents worked as caretakers in the building where their family lived. On Friday, October 14, 2022, Lola left her house to go to school. The school was literally 100 meters from her home. You see, this was a residential area where Lola lived, and it took just a few dozen steps to go from the school to her house. Because her parents worked as caretakers, they often saw Lola returning home from school. But on that fateful day, Lola was inexplicably late, minute after minute. As the parents waited anxiously for over an hour without any sign of their daughter, their worry grew. They decided to seek help from the police. While the police were on their way, Lola's mother had the idea to check the surveillance cameras installed on the buildings in their residence. Maybe for some reason, their daughter had taken a different route. Maybe one of the cameras had captured her. On one of the recordings, it was clear that Lola was indeed heading home. But she wasn't alone. The footage showed a woman, about 20 years old, walking alongside her. Lola's mother had never seen this strange video before. It was a neighbor who watched it with her. The neighbor noticed that the unknown woman gestured significantly, yet seemed indifferent to any responses. The text of Delphine's message was as follows. "Attention, our daughter Lola has been kidnapped. She was last seen at 3:20 p.m. with an unknown woman near our building. The woman was wearing white jeans and had a gray backpack over her shoulder. Please help us find her. If you recognize her, don't hesitate to call us or contact the Paris police." Delphine also attached a photo of the suspected kidnapper to the message. The mother's chilling plea went viral. Initially, they searched the streets of the 19th arrondissement, but the search area was later expanded. At 3 a.m., a homeless man discovered a large brown suitcase. It was an ordinary, cheap plastic suitcase. The man decided to open it. As you may have already guessed, the suitcase contained Lola's lifeless body. Bloodstains were visible on her body. When the police arrived at the scene, they found several stab wounds on her neck. The victim's hands and feet were tied, and the child's head was wrapped in fabric. The numbers 0 and 1 were written on her body. The murder weapon, a knife, was left by the perpetrator in the same suitcase. The child's body was sent for an autopsy. On October 15th, a forensic examination was conducted. The examination revealed that the cause of death was asphyxiation. In other words, Lola was suffocated before the wounds were inflicted. Lola was also a victim of sexual assault. However, no traces of semen were found on her body. It is likely that the attacker used protection, or the assault was carried out with an oblong object resembling a male sexual organ. Forensic experts noted that Lola may have been raped with such an object. The parents were informed of their daughter's brutal murder at 2 in the morning. Words cannot fully describe their emotional state. The news of the horrific crime spread quickly throughout the city, and the brutal murder was even addressed by French President Emmanuel Macron. To look ahead, a few days later, Macron met with Lola's parents. offering them his deepest condolences for their unimaginable loss. The case received widespread media attention, and the people of Paris were left shocked by the tragedy. Meanwhile, the police launched a full-scale investigation into the murder. The primary task was to identify the woman captured by the surveillance camera. After a few days of analyzing databases, investigators were able to establish her identity. The woman was Dahbia B, a 20-year-old Algerian national. Dahbia B had arrived in France in 2016 on a student visa. She had no prior criminal or administrative records. However, in 2018, she became a victim of domestic violence and had filed a complaint against her partner. On October 17th, 3 days after the murder, Dahbia B was arrested and taken to the police station for questioning. It was established that her student visa had expired 2 months prior to the tragedy, and her residency permit had been revoked. She had been ordered to leave France, but she failed to comply. This allowed the police to arrest Dahbia B for violating immigration laws. In the months leading up to the crime, Dahbia B had not been working and had no money to pay rent. She had been staying either with her older sister, with friends, or occasionally sleeping on the street. During the interrogation, Dahbia remained silent. The investigators also questioned her older sister, who expressed concerns about Dahbia's behavior over the previous month. She had become nervous and aggressive. On one occasion, Dahbia woke up in the middle of the night in a state of delirium, and her sister couldn't even understand what she was trying to say. During the interrogation, it became clear to detectives that Dahbia had serious mental health issues. When asked if she was involved in the murder, she responded affirmatively. She continued by detailing how she committed the offense, explaining that the choice of victim was not random. She had been waiting for Lola that day. She approached the young girl and started talking to her. Dahbia invited Lola to visit her sister, claiming that, by coincidence, her sister lived in the same complex as the young girl. Lola initially refused to accept an invitation from a stranger, but when she realized the apartment was just a few steps away from her own, she gave in to Dahbia's pleas and followed her future murderer into the house. Once inside, the woman forced the young girl to take a shower. Then, under the threat of violence, she forced the child to engage in sexual acts with her. After the obscene acts, Dahbia strangled Lola and wrote the numbers 1 and 0 on her body using red nail polish. The inscription, according to the killer, had no meaning. She then placed the body in a suitcase and wrapped the victim's head in tape. The suitcase and body were transported with great difficulty to the victim's house. Dahbia then said, verbatim, "I feel neither hot nor cold. I was raped too, and my parents died in front of me." Investigators managed to establish that when Dahbia went out into the street, she attempted to enlist the help of a man she didn't know. When speaking to the witness, it was established that she asked him to help her carry a heavy suitcase home and offered him a lot of money. When asked what was in the suitcase, the woman replied that it contained human organs and explained that she sold human organs. The witness at the time didn't appreciate the joke and went about his business. At 6:30 p.m., Dahbia called an acquaintance, Rashid Nasri, a taxi driver she knew, to pick her up at 119 Monin Street. Rashid arrived by car and picked up Dahbia. After loading Dahbia's suitcase into the trunk, he took her to his home. Dahbia told him that she had argued with her sister and couldn't stay at her place. Later, when questioned, Rashid stated that he didn't know the contents of the suitcase. We doubt he was telling the truth. The suitcase weighed at least 35 keys, so he must have wondered about its contents. Dahbia trapped an acquaintance by making him an accomplice to the offense. During a search of Rashid's apartment, the police found clothes belonging to Dahbia. Rashid explained that the woman had showered that evening in his apartment. The clothes she had worn were thrown into the laundry basket in Rashid's apartment. Additionally, there were traces of blood in the bathroom, according to the victim's expert. The woman's motive for committing the crime was totally incomprehensible to investigators. Was the woman so eager for carnal pleasure that she was ready to kill? Some details were quickly revealed. A week before the tragedy, Dahbia had a verbal altercation with Lola's mother. The victim's mother had forbidden the woman from using the complex's gym. According to the rules, the gym could only be used by owners or tenants of the building. Dahbia was only a guest of her older sister. The denial of access to the gym was the reason for the revenge. At the time of the crime, Dahbia was alone with the girl in the apartment. Later, neighbors confirmed that they had seen the suspect leaving the apartment with a suitcase. A few days after the interrogation, Dahbia recanted her confession, claiming that her testimony was just the account of a dream she had. She also stated that she would never have been capable of taking a human life. Shortly after, the suspect changed her statement again, now claiming that the crime had been committed by a stranger. She then declared that the girl had been killed by the ghost on November 28, 2022. Psychological experts indicated a diagnosis of a severe and complex personality disorder. The patient was prone to manipulation. The rate of recurrent violence in the patient was evaluated as extremely high. However, in February 2023, Dahbia was admitted to a psychiatric ward. In July 2023, Dahbia was transferred to a pretrial detention center in solitary confinement. During her isolation at Fresnes, the woman repeatedly received death threats. She refused all treatment. The verdict against the accused has not yet been handed down. Rashid Nasri, 40 years old, has been charged with concealing a corpse. The man is awaiting his judgment under his own recognizance. The accused sister, Haben Kired, was deported to Algeria in December 2022 for violating immigration laws. Lola Davier, Lola's father, passed away on February 23, 2024, at the age of 49. His health had been undermined by the tragic death of his daughter.